complicit and indicted. Mueller is coming. Make no mistake. He's just moving very quietly, very stealthily. But what he's doing is convening grand juries and getting an indictment a week, all beneath the radar, all quiet. And so we'll just wait and see what unfolds out of that.
But you don't fear that this new effort to try to get Mueller's boss is going to undermine some of this? Because I was reading in the paper earlier where there's like this whole thing of this secret taping. So I was wondering if
that was smoke and mirrors. That was a distraction crafted by Trump to try to distract, as usual. Mueller has a dead man switch. So if he gets fired, he's got 10 attorneys. They're prosecuting attorneys. They're prosecution. They're not investigators. They're prosecutors. Top of their game. All those sealed indictments will begin unsealing in rapid fashion. He's got a dead man switch. So I think he's untouchable, frankly, and I think Trump knows it.
And that's why the whole smoke and mirrors act is because he knows it, and he's probably very much worried about his own future and whether he can survive even the midterm elections. Because I'm personally of the opinion.
I think he's going to prison. He's going to prison because you have to understand that one of the reasons that they did this whole Rosenstein thing is because there's one of the things that they have the right to investigate with him is his money laundering schemes, right? And so that's what he's really afraid of. But they expanded the investigation to his financial dealings and financial crimes. Because he wasn't president of the United States while he was doing all this stuff, he flew a little bit under the radar. Now they're going to expose all of his money laundering schemes, financial crimes, how it relates to Deutsche Bank, all this stuff. So he's going to prison. I mean, they've got Paul Manafort talking, Michael Cohen talking, who was his fixer, and his CFO. That's all you need, right, to understand what really happened from a financial crimes perspective. So he's going to prison. It's going to be unprecedented. It's going to, the kind of stuff that's going to, I think we're going to be in for a serious ride when all this stuff really reaches a fever pitch, but he's going to prison.
Wow. And what is your opinions as to what is going to happen with the midterm elections? Because that's getting ready to come up as well. So I was just wondering what your own opinions are in terms of the midterm elections. Will we see some flipping of the House and the Senate, or one of the two institutions? Or
I think so. I think people realize that there's so much at stake that we know we can't afford to stay home and sit this one out. Out of 100 million people sat out the last election, and so now we have what we have, right? So I think that people are highly energized and very activated on the left, and people realize what's at stake and that democracy is in jeopardy here in the United States of America. It's in jeopardy, right? I never thought I'd be on the side of the FBI, right, given my history with, and my experience vis-a-vis the Black Panther Party. But there's so much at stake that I think that people are going to we're seeing more women run for local offices than ever before. We're seeing more black people, like what they did down in Alabama with, making sure Roy Moore was not elected. I mean, people are activated in some sectors. People are mobilized, right, to make because they really see the danger that we are faced with.
And what do you think will that raises another question. There's been some push to people talking about ways to get more of us to vote, because that's one of the things you just mentioned, all those many people that have not voted. Yes, there's some activism among the left and everything, but I know there's been push for everything from digital voting to other ways to getting more of us engaged in voting in this modern age. Do you think that we'll see this not necessarily this election, but in the next, say, 2 or 3 elections where we'll find more media ways to do voting that may increase voting, and do you think that's a good thing?
I think we have to, but I think we have to make sure it's not hackable. I mean, we cannot underestimate the impact of what the Russians did to our election, right? Like, it's hackable. They hacked it. And, changed voting tallies by 1% in the 4 key swing states that ended up flipping the whole thing to the Electoral College. So we've got to first make the vote safe and unhackable, because that's crazy, right? You can't mobilize everybody to go out and vote and then not have the vote matter. I think you're going to have to get a Democratic, House and Senate, though, because the Republicans want to be able to steal elections, so they're fine with voter ID laws and all these things to get people. They like that it's hackable. They like it because that's how they cheat, right? So we can't do it while they're still in office. They're going to have to do it. They have to get Dems in office. I mean, you should make voting a national holiday. It should be mandatory. It should be mandatory in this country, because if it were mandatory and people actually voted, you wouldn't have a Republican leadership in for generations. They'd have to change. They finally have to clean up their act, right? If everybody actually voted.
And what about the concept of the Electoral College? Do you think that we can actually get rid of that? Because I know that's been something.
I think we should. I think it's because what did I hear the other day, that like 7 out of the last 10 elections were skewed. We're not actually. What's happening is that we're not necessarily electing the will of the people, right? Because of the Electoral College. So, it's a holdover from slavery. It's a legacy from slavery. They just need to abolish it. But that's, again, only going to happen in a Democratic Congress. And then they need to get rid of Citizens United, too. The big issue from my perspective is, can you annul the election? There's no precedent for it. There's a precedent for it at the state level. But when someone was found to have cheated in the election, they gave the election to their opponent, right? The question becomes, is it annullable because we find out that the whole thing was hacked? We've never faced that potentiality before. We've never been faced with that prospect. But if the election is invalid, then so is Trump's agenda. All these federal judges that he's stacking the courts with, Gorsuch, nomination, all that's invalid if he's invalid. And he's invalid.
So you think it is possible that in 2020, through default, we could have Hillary Clinton actually as president, because that would be the one that actually won the election?
She won the election. Yeah, that would, right? Like, that's what makes sense. Won the election. He didn't win the election, and so his agenda is therefore invalid. You also need somebody in there that actually has the skill set to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. It's not time for newbies. It's not time for fresh blood. It's actually time for seasoned political operatives that understand the levers of government and power and how it operates and how it runs internationally. And you need somebody that actually understands that stuff, right? Because there's so much at stake, and there's so much that has to be remantled. I know that's not really a word, but reassembled, right, from all the dismantling that he's done his job was to go in there and sort of burn the place down. Well, he's doing that. So you need somebody that actually knows how to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. You can't. This isn't one of those things where you learn on the job.
And what is your views on, because we talked about this actually last week, but it's definitely a movement that is coming back. It's coming out of the whole 60s and 70s. But do you think the Poor People's Campaign is something that is needed, and that Reverend Barbara is doing a good job by putting this thing back together? Because it seems like there's a whole push to try to get some of the 60s and 70s activism re-energized, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely. I think anything that mobilizes activism and activates activism is a good thing. We cannot afford to indulge in collective apathy another day. Any ounce of it must be organized and mobilized, and we cannot afford anything that mobilizes activism and energizes activism. I think is a good thing.
And that comes back to another question, which kind of has the two things of your careers together and everything. Do you think enough of our for lack of a better term, black business owners are getting involved in activism. I know that there's like you said, there's 1 however many business owners, but I'm wondering, are we seeing enough of them actually being involved in activism? I mean, you grew up in activism.
I think they are. I think they do if they have enough money, right? It's hard to be in a struggling business and participate in politics, right, because you're busy struggling, right? So if they have enough money, I know that the clients that I have coached to multi-million-dollar businesses, right, they're very highly involved in the political process. They are very activist because they know what's at stake, right? And so I think the entrepreneur, again, Paul Anderson said it really brilliantly. He said you've got to get the money first, the first floor, personally and collectively. Then you have to use that money to influence the political process. So we get it backwards. We think politics first and then money second. Money first, politics second. By the courts. Stack them with the people that are going to serve your agenda and your interests.
Because my partner in crime, Dean, he's actually doing both of those. Dean, you still with me?
I'm still here, brother.
Cool. So, Dean, she's been talking a lot about stuff that's right up your alley because you have both your business that you can tell her about, and then you also are involved with the NAACP. I don't remember which organization you were involved with. So you sound like you're doing a lot of the same kind of work that she's doing while also working in the penal system and everything.
Well, we do, with the NAACP, we do the voter registration. We're also doing it with the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and also with the Prince Hall, most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New Jersey. Masons.
Great.
Everybody is right now. We're trying to get individuals to not only register to vote, but to also go out and vote. And it's kind of tricky because, way back, you look at all the stuff that comes on television. I had said this at a candidates forum, and I asked the candidates to tell us what you're going to do for us. We don't need to know what your opponent did in high school, college, or what they're doing now. I'm not concerned with the mudslinging. I'm more concerned with how are you going to do things that benefit us? How are you going to advocate for us? How are you going to advocate for those who traditionally do not have a voice? And it's because things that they are not necessarily told. For instance, in New Jersey, those who have left incarceration and they've been in the county for up to 60 days before the election, 18 years of age, a United States citizen, not on probation or parole, and have not been declared mentally incompetent, can vote. And it's amazing to know, and we first found out when President Obama was running for office and we were going through neighborhoods and we were talking to people and they were like, well, I can't vote, I've been in prison. And I'm like, okay, are you still on supervision? No, I'm not. I'm like, all right, how long have you been here? Oh, I've been here 2 years. Have you ever been declared mentally incompetent? And they're like, why are you asking all these questions? I said, because you can vote. But nobody told you because they don't want you to know. If I can keep information away from you, I can control you. If I can control you, I can give you anything I want, and you'll accept it as being so because you don't know any better. And, just trying to get people to understand, like you said, that I've said that for years, that electoral college system is a complete fiasco and a joke. I didn't care for either of the two major party candidates, but, we have like I said before on the show, we have a real life version of The Apprentice. It's just been another person that's resigned today before he got fired. And it's like, at what point are you all going to see that this one is not that smart? Problem is, the one that's been quiet may be worse. So we're in a weird situation right now, but all of those seats are coming up in Congress. where change actually can be